Sorry, there's something can read us, so I didn't want to have noise in the space. But disaster, do you want to come through? Disaster, how are you, my brother? Barong, did you say?
Uncle Jed, ndimi kapilot wedu muri kuendesa ndege kana takusangana neturbulent tipewo warning toita system of
This one
bells
is a reliable
kana
pilot disaster.
vanagomba vakuya pano munotudza vakatoisa matablets ene bp pedo tinofuma takafa Uncle Jed mukazana mega paspace. However, let me proceed. What Mayor Gomba said is nothing new. He has reached a point of saturation. Unaona qualitative research data analysis when they are performing open Excel and selective coding, saturation is reached. He is telling us the same thing that he told us yesterday, last year, and whatever. What does he want us to say? And instead of telling us, why is it that Mnangagwa only appointed one person who was against CAPS 3 and the one who was the deputy for CDF? Why? Gomba cannot talk about this. But however, he raised some important questions that this lady appeared during the time of Shangrai in the Prime Minister's office. So she started working with the opposition during that time. But Gomba never even asked it. Did she even try to get some secrets from Morgan Shangrai or the team? He is not questioning, but is believing that it is because of structures, it is because of Nelson Chamisa and some people who are talking about it here. So let me try to start about this particular lady. I've got only two issues, that lady and Hopewell Chingono. Number one, you see, it is through God's grace that this lady left the movement, being appointed the senator without, accusing someone of rape. This is how ZANU-PF stage manage reps. Someone may say, I was in Uncle Jed's office. Vakanditsika gumbo rangu rikadai. Saka yatoaripi, wodedza police. Muchimbumburudzwa kuofisi, kumapurisa nekupi, munokanganwa about the movement. So it is only through God's grace that Nelson Chamisa skipped the boat when he saw this coming. It's not new. Talk about Nyoka Mabunu in South Africa. Nyoka Bunu was managed or was handled through CIO in a foreign country, but nothing happened. ANC kept quiet when they were abusing state apparatus. ZANU-PF abusing state apparatus of South Africa, doing the same thing even in court. This is the thing which is like that. Look at Monzora today. Monzora has got a court case that he is not paying employees, and I don't think it's by mistake, it's by ZANU-PF. And they know that he's hiring this particular building for 80,000 to the Chinese. Who knows that that is what we are talking about? So what is happening is that we told you before, Morgan Tsvangirai was a strong guy. He inherited the same thing. Even the people who were working on beans in his office, they were just like CIOs, planted. And Chamisa inherited it through this, I don't know, the information which they called everyone back to the system. So instead of blaming Chamisa, we should sympathize with them because people are asking, what is the solution now? The solution is to remove ZANU-PF. We want clean politics. We don't want everywhere. Where pamunoita plant Zimbabwe, muita plant vakadzi, muita plant everyone. And then you think it's a country. So the only solution is to remove ZANU-PF and the structures.
How do
Which
we
some
remove
of our
ZANU-PF?
people are talking about.
How do
Hello?
we remove ZANU-PF?
That's what we are going there. Number one, we are going to remove ZANU-PF. We are starting from there. Brilliant Dube is an illegal appointee because he has been, planted by an illegal president. So I'm talking about Mr. Mnangagwa. I talked about this last time. There were several death threats that came to my inbox, and they were trying to put me on spot, including Professor Ferres. They were saying, what are you talking about? Tichakubata. But I'm saying, you find me, munondiuraya, but vanangojet vanosaura vachiita nemovement. The situation on the ground is that Mnangagwa at the moment arikutotambura asi kurara. Ari kutsvaka legitimacy kumapostori. Makanzwa South Africa, vakuti South Africa yakaita vakalegitimize iye nekuti vakataura kuti hatipindiri mumainternal politics of Harare. So he is a confused man. And at the moment, right now, within particular ZANU-PF, ivo vana Mutsvangu vaifunga kuti ndo madhara acho vaona kuti akuuya ko president iye Tagwirei kuba kwake vanenge ndo vakuuya vakuda kutotonga nyika yacho vobva vaitora vazoda kuchema kuti wo nyika yatakadayo because vatoita mistake iwe. So that is what I wanted to say kuti mukanzwa vanhu vakuda kutaura tamunzwa vachitaura izvozvo zvekuti hanzi neutral vataura vanapa kuti ma-structures Cooksman akatoti Nelson Chamisa is useless and the issue of structures ganda kutaura inini munondidayo but dakukudzai vakomana kuti learn from your enemy. KuZANU-PF vane ma-disagreements more than atinawo panapa kana unombonzwana china Masava kuti Mnangagwa dayo vese ndo zvamunoita kuti munotaura muri mubedroom kana mukarowa kubedroom iko mubuda munyaenda kumba makanyarara in opposition kana baba vataura leader nyangwe baba vakasura pachena woti mukuru kune mbwa yariri apa ndo yaita izvozvo hamusini ndo zvamunoita kuopposition kana president vataura kwete kuti president aita zvamada kuita makutaura kuti chichi ndosaka tisingawirirani. We agree with you, we know that you are Democrats, but imimi chichi chinokupai chiundi chekuti moti Mnangagwa mumurova uku Nelson Chamisa mumurova uku mavabanga akarinocheka nekwese tiri kunzwai zvamuri kutaura. Saka kana mutaure zvemastructure whether you are from heaven or from hell we won't agree with you. Chamisa whatever silly things that is doing totomusapota kuti ndo pazviri but tapinda within the underground then tomudzoti Chamisa apa pakashata pa idai kwete kuti makuda kurova bembera ZANU-PF zvinzwa futi hatichazivi kuti makupi nekupi right. Handemberi kuna Hopewe knows me especially within the media circle. I used to write articles in some of the papers in Zimbabwe and we challenged Hopewe before he came in because he was an enhancer of President Mnangagwa, and when we challenged him there was a time he came back when he started coming together with Nelson Chamisa. I sent to him a message and that is when he unblocked me. He said, no, we are now friends, now let's try to stop. We started supporting Oppo then and there. So Oppo, as you see him, we told him before even on this particular space is that Oppo, he was from ZANU-PF and Mnangagwa regime, and he was promised something that did not come up well. So he decided to cross the ship, and when he crossed to come this particular side, he was thinking that he was going to control the show. That is why you see him. Some people are saying, Opio told him about structures. Who was he in terms of this particular part? He's just a journalist. So what we are talking about, even if he is listening, he blocked me again because he knows that we told him, iwewe, uri waivi, tichakubata chete, unorya mari iyoyo ukaguta ukaita matumbu, but iwe kwawakabva kuZANU, takafunga kuti poyo kuwaita zvirinani, ndiye akuda kuita control the same situation yekuti ma-structures nechi. Imimi chamotora chema-structures chicho, ndazwa pomwe Dr. Tadini wataura nyaya yema-structures. Chii chema-structures amuri kutaura? Isi tine nyaya yatifesa
But
panapa.
nhara nyaya yekutaura ini ndimunombonawo here kuti Hopewe was a plan from Mnangagwa, was being paid by Mnangagwa. If we got definitive evidence, that
Let me tell you.
I can support that.
Let me tell you, Hopewe, we talked to him that where are you coming from?
Did he tell you that he's being paid by Emmerson Mnangagwa?
No, I've never said paid.
No, but you said the government is or
no.
But you pointed to Hopewe being a paid agent.
No. Let me tell you, I never talked about money. I've never seen transactions, but I told you through inferential system that Hopewe was never from Nelson Chamisa. He came from that other side. He blocked me first time. Second time, if I open my other account, I will tell you and I will send you the message that he told me that my brother, now we are together. We are in the ship. But now he has gone back because he is attacking the same situation that we were fighting against. Even if you check today, he has blocked me. And check about the other time he came on your space Ango Jet. He was trying to be a chameleon, saying, you remind me about the past. I was the one who asked him about that. That we don't trust you. Go to ZANU-PF and eat bread there. And we don't have evidence that he was given something. But these people, vekuti vanachamisa vanopuwa mabhini manavo, vanenge vari magirlfriends vanocheka namasecretary vanenge vachibva kusystem. imi muabhule hapana zviri kuita chinotendai mwari kuti chamisa hapana zvaakamboitawo angadai
Okay.
mamumwe
Saka, one more time, back to my original question. ZANU PF inobvizwa how? But it's time to remove ZANU PF. How is ZANU PF going to be removed?
ndo nyaya yatiri kutaura nezvayo kai yekuti we should campaign about illegitimacy.
Okay, all right. What vehicle is going to remove ZANU PF?
No, it's like when you're talking about the vehicle, that's the citizens. Because people, you want the one person's name to be on the
No. That is not what we are talking about. Yeah, that is not what we're talking. I think that is where now we lose it, because each and every time that we want to ask solutions, how do we then get to a point of because ZANU PF is an institution.
What is a vehicle?
Mirai, ZANU PF is an institution, a well-oiled institution, a well-oiled machinery, right? It has got systems that can infiltrate, right? So dealing with such an organization as an opposition, how should we, us as citizens, how can we go about it to remove ZANU PF as citizens? What is it that citizens are supposed to do to remove ZANU? Because you can say, well, it is now left to, it is now up to the citizens. What are the citizens supposed to do to remove ZANU PF?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, Angojed. The first thing that I want to dispute about what you said, ZANU PF is not a well-oiled vehicle. It's a poisoned oiled vehicle. And now I'm coming back. Yes, it's not a well. Those are the terms that are derogatory. We want to talk about the well thing. What is the well?
No, Mdara. The tragedy inenge iripo yatinoita come across. The tragedy I think I came across when it comes to discussing, some of these things, instead of focusing on what we need, to do, we spend time deliberating on things, that are not, necessary. Understand? Me calling ZANU PF a well-oiled, machine, it does not change, anything. It does not stop us from proposing, the way forward. What is, how can we remove, this, entity? And number one, or what I'm just trying, to say is, Mimi Mataura Mimi, the best way, to go about this is to remove, ZANU PF, right? So, how can ZANU PF be removed? Mimi, you're calling for a citizen, movement. And probably you're calling for an uprising among citizens. Probably you're calling for a demonstration among citizens that they can sustain for days on the streets of Harare, Bulawayo, Mutare, Slovela, everywhere, that you can think of. But now Zimbabwe, you rise up and say, "What is this, Susu? This is what we are now believing in, and this is now what we want. We rise up." And it can my citizens either rise up, and then what? To create this chaos, or to create this environment, your good is ZANU PF probably finds the situation now unfathomable for them to continue in power. They don't decide to say good is wamuri kuti zoye abve aiwa akuva, and then what? Twitter say tozvifambisa sei kubva ipapo, because one masolutions kanobatika. Because calling for citizens, we've been calling for citizens to rise up. Panonzi itaini demonstration abana citizen yamunoona. But at the end of the day, I spoke about an engine and a vehicle. The citizens are the vehicle, but you also need an engine. Those two cannot work, independently of each other. One depends, on the other. So if you're saying with this, a vehicle can operate without an engine, then how do you then propose to make that vehicle, move without, the engine? Those are some of the questions, that arise from some of these conversations. I know what is there's an attempt to want to set, some narrative, straight. I get that. And I respect that. But at the end of the day, after everything is said and done, having corrected some narratives or having made some pushbacks against some narratives, where do we go from there? Tunaenda kupi? Because they're saying good is it is now time for the citizens. It doesn't make any sense. The citizens to do what? Who is going to be organizing them? If the citizens can do whatever it is that you're saying they need to do, what then comes after the citizens, have done that? Because it's obvious there's going to be a void, a vacuum that gets, created. And if that vacuum gets created, who's going to filling in that, vacuum? Are you then now to say, good, the person who am I with this is the right person now who should be coming in and fill, the vacuum? And yet, when we were speaking about it, trying to establish the vehicle and the engine, you were saying that this person must not be spoken about. Where do we go from there? Sometimes I think, we need, to wear these, grown-up folks, jackets and start to deliberate on things that they're supposed to be deliberated. Because surely I myself, right, when I'm looking at the situation in Zimbabwe, today, today was another day for me. My mom passed away 30 years ago, right? Rimobora ngoma rikauya nemotikari yakadhiraivha karova tombstone yamomzi wangu ikapwanya ningida tombstone. I had to fix that. And I had to pay some money to fix what I had already fixed. And that is the tragedy that we are having, in Zimbabwe. But we're constantly wanting to fix things. Fix things. Whatever you are, dispensing, but the point, that I'm trying, to make, can we not ever get to a point whereby we can have a lasting, solution to the problems that we are facing as Zimbabweans? And can we begin to get to a point of thinking outside of personalities, outside of people, and start to invest in my institutions that can bring whatever change, that we are seeking for and change that we are looking for as a people? Because point yataurwa ataura nenyaya ya 2005. I don't know what probably people, have missed, that out. But the fact was somebody knew that, if I don't get it my way, is the highway. And I can go to the people and tell them, could izvindo zviripo, just because I am popular with the people. That is exactly what the previous contributor was alluding to or was pointing out to. Could we create personalities, and them personalities knowing that they've got support of the people, they can easily say, Guti, it's my way or the highway. If you don't agree with me, leave, get out. Because they know, Guti, even if they stand and say, Guti, hey, ndatisayida kudai ndatisayida kudai ndatisayida vanhu vachangoda yenaro handi nazvo. But all these things, they are happening outside of institutional responsibilities. Where do we go from there as a people? Yes, we need strong leaders. That I agree. I will never take away whatever social capital that these folks built in them in order for them to be seen as people that can hold things together. But they also need the institution, because it maintains or it brings about checks and balances. That is what we want. I'm quite sure that is what you want. Right now we are crying. We started crying over the ED, this for ED, that for ED, that for ED, that for ED, that for ED. Everyone is now seeing ED is the alpha and the omega. But what is ED really doing? That has brought reprieve to the Zimbabwean people. Right now, Kukaribo, the death toll continue to rise, but ED did not even, and he set foot there. Kwakaenda vana Barbara Rhodes nana Daniel Garwe. How much money did they cobble up? We are being told 1 million. Mukadzi wacho aende kwazvinezvi hanzi zvaasiya zvaaita, and we are being giving reports yekuti the food that she left there meant to benefit the locals is being looted by ZANU-PF officials. So where do we begin to get to a point yekuti vana veZimbabwe vanaonawo zororo? Because in this thing was ED for this for ED, that for ED, that for ED, that for ED. And all these for EDs are looting mechanisms or looting vehicles that are depriving Manawe Zimbabwe of opportunities to enjoy the wealth of their nation. Because kune chimwe chiorganization inenge chakafomwa chiri kuita fleece money from vanhu vatori muindustry vatozviitirawo zvinhu zvavo. It is as a result of an absence of strong institutions that have been replaced by personalities, people whose names get put forward. Right now, ndikufollowa nyaya yeuyuyu. People will be thinking with Zitara Emerson Mnangagwa likangotaurwa chete, everybody has to quiver. You have to quiver in your high tops. Otozvikira weight just because the name of Emerson Mnangagwa has been spoken out. Is that the society that we really want? If it is one society that you guys really want, I'm afraid in Garemeka society more.
Sorry, Tan, I don't want your question to be rhetorical on how to remove ZANU-PF. Can I quickly answer that?
No, he was asking me. Let me finish with him, then you come.
He asked you 4 times and you failed to answer.
No,
You just said
I
that's what we are
time.
talking about.
Those are some of the dangerous
You said
statements.
that's what we are talking about. You
It
didn't
will come
answer.
your time. Respect the host. We are just
What do you mean
and
respect
let
the
me
host?
wrap up, then you come. Unless you interfered again with him. I didn't want you to speak.
Are you
Just
going to
give him
answer
a
the
chance.
question?
Give him a chance, then I finish, then you go. You are the one who spoke.
Please answer the question.
And then you can come in after him.
No, you must not run away from the
No. That
question. If you
question I
can't,
need
you need to ask
it
people who can.
answered. Because
Yeah.
you see, at the end of the day, that is what we are discussing here, building leak-proof democratic institutions. Yes, you have said Buddhism, it is difficult to be building an entirely leak-proof. I acknowledge that and I understand that. But at least there must something that must be built. So you are saying Buddhism, the solution to our problem is to remove ZANU-PF. How do we remove ZANU-PF?
Yes, that's what I am saying, Angojed. I wanted to respond about this and give me chance. Then we are going to get the last answer from Ongap. I think he's going to give us the 100% answer like what he said. Right. You see what is happening. Right now, if you were to be asking, do we have a president in Zimbabwe? We don't have. We have got an illegal president. That's where we should start from. We should campaign on this particular issue, and he is feeling the heat. That is why the issue came from what? South Africa. I have never said that we should go for demonstrations because we don't have the capacity in Zimbabwe to run for those demonstrations. But when we go to international community and other places, we're gonna do that because if we are proposing to form a transitional government, if it is running parallel, and we want people who are strong like Ango Chad, who are not afraid of being arrested, that's the way it is. But we are dealing with a very person who is tough. So let me just leave it there. You will get 120% answer from Ongapi. He said I'm running away from the answer.
Tan, the suggestion that the answer is in the people is true. What people don't know is how that is done. Because these democratic institutions are built by people. But those people need to be conscientized on what needs to change. ZANU-PF itself, its main mandate or agenda is
But
to
you're speaking for
to
the
keep.
second time. Some of us we haven't spoken. Sorry.
No, wait, I'm almost done. Their main job is to stay in power. And if we don't understand how power is supported, how power is structured, we will not be able to fight it. Because we need to know how to build power amongst ourselves. Because we are the ones who borrow power to the government or to the authorities. Once we understand how that is done, then we will form the small groups, these different institutions here, different, including political parties. Those political parties will not have infiltration because people would have been, we have an agreement on the ideology and the mindset and the direction where they want to go. But if we put the cart before the horse, we will start building institutions that will take people who don't know where we want to go. And unfortunately, that process has no shortcuts. Individually, Zimbabweans, there are people who understand that this is wrong. When certain things happen in our country, they feel the pain, but others are not yet there. We need to get to a collective consciousness, as Tadini always says, where one incident can actually rally up a lot of people. But those people cannot go and take power if they don't know how power is and how power is managed and how power is borrowed to representatives. That is what we need to cure. So that in a new Zimbabwe, we won't need to come back again and say, oh, look at this person is doing the same thing again, because we would have learned how power is structured and where we play as individuals. So without the understanding of state power, political power, we are not going to go anywhere. We can do all these things that we want, Dobbs. We can do all these things that we want and think that certain people or individuals will lead us into huge protests without us understanding uh, how power is not.
Not a
So I
very
might
strong
keep going in
strategy there.
circles, but
There's
we need
nothing
to
that I
understand how
expect.
power is played.
All
I'm
right,
done, sir.
okay. Thank you very much. Right. Let's go to the folks, that hasn't spoken. Um Mof, tell us.
Yes, Uncle.
Right. Pani kanois kandakumboiza kandine zandamboti gr. But I know I'm still here though. But I've got Sitole, he's been here for a minute. Um Signoro has been, dropping in and out. Masi has been there. Sabuk Dobbs haven't spoken, and Koma Ometa have not spoken. Tapiwa has not spoken, and Mangisi have not spoken. Tapiwa has been here from the beginning. So if we can give him, the opportunity, followed by, Sitole, and then you can then make another, lineup. But let us, I'll go with that. Punish a number if I open my mic in engineer ways.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay, uncles.
Okay.
Right. So let's move in that order, guys. So Tapua first, then we go to Stoll after. Then I can make another list.
Thank you very much, Uncle Titus. Yeah, I think I'll just speak generally about institutions, not specifically because I haven't been involved in Zimbabwean politics for quite some time, so that I might not have the inside knowledge of how they function, why they're failing, and so forth. But generally, I think every institution, uh, whether it's a bank or it's a church or a burial society, they are managed the same. I mean, there's not much difference between the management of ZANU-PF and the management of CCC or whatever other opposition party when it comes to political institutions. I think the only problem that they might have is the risk management aspect of management. I think that's where the amateurish kind of thing happens because, I mean, you can't keep repeating the same thing and expect a different result when you know very well. You don't review what happened before for you to actually close the gaps. You know, all right, you're complaining about infiltration. You're complaining about administrative collapse, infighting, and so forth and so forth. So I think people don't actually understand the importance of things like it's just a simple exercise of risk assessment. And in these days, whereby we have a lot of platforms that can be uh, used to actually uh, ring fence the organization and actually do things through those platforms. There are so many. For example, you can just use there is something called Forma, for example. I'll just give you an example, whereby you can have 1,000 projects you can run on a server or whatever it is, and you have permissions for people to log in, invite people to log in, and so forth. They join that organization, whatever it is. But normally it's used for construction projects. And then I'm just giving an example of how you can actually have a portal, and this is protected. It's very, very difficult for people to infiltrate. Because if you're going to use Gmail to communicate, of course, people are going to end up, reading your email. But if it's within a portal, and you have different permission levels to different sections of information. If it's accounting, if it's policy, if it's meetings, online meetings, Zoom meetings, whatever it is, you can actually do it in a secure environment. Then, of course, the communication department will agree with the leadership to say, okay, we are going to publicize certain information to either on Twitter, WhatsApp, whatever, or newspapers, or whatever it is, that you make sure that it's secure. Everything else is secure. But the problem is you got leadership that actually play everything on the public platform and on Twitter here. We saw that in 2023. We're trying to tell them, no, when it says structures, we're talking about securing information, making sure that information that's put out there is really agreed upon. You manage that information coming out so that there's no conflict yema messages. Because if Secretary General and Taura is Secretary General, people are fighting publicly. But I think just like a family, you have closed doors, issues. Then you agree on what to share with the world. I think secrecy, which is part of the intelligence of an organization, is key to really making sure that you are secure, making sure that you actually function, because all your vulnerabilities come from talking too much. Ukaita pfapateni pakuti pane kahanzvadzi kako kanenge kuti tadya nemajarini nhasi chichiudza varoyi vese vemuzaka musha wese unoroyiwa. You just keep quiet, wadya mamazai nhasi, but you don't go around telling the whole village. So I think that's the problem. There's so much leakages, and there's no control of whatever. Just imagine right now, you're arguing with a journalist on the public fora. What are you trying to prove? It doesn't make any sense. Even if you win that argument, to me, you have lost as a leader because you have absolutely nothing to prove to anybody. You might have to do that maybe privately, and then you clarify certain issues, and it's okay, sorry, whatever it is, and then you move on. But you cannot have sparring matches on a public forum, exposing things that maybe were not supposed to be in the public forum in the first place. So I think playing out a organization or running an organization in the public is repeating exactly the same thing they did 2023. Right now, paragraph after paragraph, I did this in the car, pit of snakes. I mean, you call your compatriots snakes, and these were people supporting you. And then you castigate, chastise or whatever, which tower of the pit of snakes, which means kuti, you have failed as a leader because and then how can a leader, let's say there are snakes there, and you say, I am not a snake, but the rest of the people in that pit are snakes. So how good are you? So basically you are just a self-serving bastard. Anyway, thank you very much.
Interesting, Tapiwa. Ameno pamajimi opamanga makupinda apa nepamaportals apa. I do understand the technicalities, but tikutaura hedu, infiltration isingatomboda email, isingatomboda portal, face to face chaya kuti bhegi rouya kunoko. But anyway, I think your points were clear, Taps. Appreciate. So I think we're going to Sithole next.
Thanks, Titus. Thanks. Topic iruti building leak-proof democratic institutions. MaZimbabweans tine problem yekuti we have become experts in everything. But when it comes to implement whatever my ideas atinao acho, we shy away. For example, let's take a look at this whole space. Vanhu vari panapa, almost majority yedu tese, we are not in Zimbabwe. We are outside of Zimbabwe. Tiri kunze kwenyika, and we've got my solutions for everything. We can tell my politicians ari kumba kuti apa panofana kuitwa so, apa poitwa so, apa poitwa so. We almost tine zvese, tine mama ideas ese. We can even advise vanhu vekuzambia, we can even advise vanhu veku-South Africa on how to run their businesses. Ndo problem hombe yandakaona inini yekuti maZimbabweans we need to stop and introspect kuti what do we want. Tinodei chaizvo maZimbabweans, tinodei sevanhu vari munyika mavo. Angojedi is talking about nyika iri kuitwa mapersonalities. Of course, ndo politics dzagara dzirimo since 1980. It's all about personalities. You say let us build my democratic institutions. Muri kuda kuvavaka muri kupi? Muri Zimbabwe. Is Zimbabwe a democratic nation? It's not. Muno organize government structures in 2022. Tadina kuti hanzi takati itai ma structures and all that. But some people who are criticizing the lack of structures, vango variko kuna 2022 vachiti let's not do my structures. And most of the people agreed with let's forget about my structures because papa nezvanga zvaita transpired mu MDCT. Vana Douglas Ngonzora took over MDCT vachingoshandisa ma-structures ari ipapo. MDC was taken to court after that guy ameno ndo kugwero remufeso akatora MDC aendesa kucourt vakaluza Dagina Komi chikama wakaita
Guys, is it my end or still argu lag?
I think
I
network
can't
yangu
hear you.
inenge iri kuita ichidropa.
All right, I think you are clear now. Try.
Okay, kana ndisiri kunzwika, I'll pull off and then maybe I'll come back.
Okay. Yeah, I'm watching
Yeah.
Zwika, but then you started breaking off. So maybe if you can find a better network here.
Oh, okay. Let me drop.
All right, no problems. Thanks. Yeah, we'll give you a space if you come back. All right, so Tina Sabugdobs na Signoro
Sorry, I've been here the longest, by the way.
Masi.
I've been here
Yeah,
the
I'm
longest.
just doing the lineup. Let
If
me
you
do
don't
the
mind,
co-host thing.
before I drop again.
No. All right, go ahead, Signor.
Sorry for appearing like I'm arguing. It is what it is. Thank you, Nyamashiswa Nemitsano Titus, for the host position. Yamakabata. We're actually doing a good job. It's a grana Kwasha wenyewe. Revolutionary greetings, fellow Zimbabweans. It is a struggle for economic freedom. And I'm actually entering the space here contribution. It is a struggle for economic freedom. And the victory is certainly guaranteed. The previous speaker, thank you for clearing the ground for me. Our court, Nelson Chamisa, says it's very weird to fight something that does not exist. There's no democratic space, so it's weird to talk of a leak when there's no roof. There's no democratic space. I'm not here to kill anyone's emotions or appetite, but it's a fact. And the fact that comes from not me, but my colleagues here, some who are actually struggling to close the leaks. They have alluded to the fact that there is no democracy in Zimbabwe. Now, our challenges emanate from a slow glowing candle, and I'm partly to blame. I've said this before. We thought it was a joke, but I don't want to zviripo do a maybe problem yachakabvira mudumbu, I don't know. Kamoto kamberevere, it starts way back. The first Ziambi that we have today was Simbimbako. What am I speaking to here? We no longer not have just the democratic space, but the political arena is not there. There is capture of institutions, ZANU-PF included, state capture. But problem yatina and denial kuti tinobata kumeso kuda kunzwa kukaunzi une kenza unobva watambura kuti ndoita sei. Ukanzi kwaita chibhanang'ana unoda kufuga musoro kushaya kuti woita sei, kuti ukafuga musoro ndokuzviite sei. Again, it comes from my colleagues here. Corridors of power. There's power in the corridors, there's cartels in the system, what I call them the Gananda. The playfield has been taken over by thugs. So why I'm mentioning Simbimbako, it's important so that we understand, and then we'll have to find solutions. It starts backdating in 1989, when the First Amendment, number 9, it furthered this structure by establishing an unclear, confused legislature and abuse of parliamentarians being dragged to sign things that do not make sense today. Tangote issue. This followed the 1987, the changes that marked. Remember, we used to have a prime minister and a president. That's why that is very important. It marks the beginning of a significant shift, which then speaks to center of power. And we can't dispute that. It's a fact. It is a fact, but it's very difficult to convince each other. And I'll be very clear there. Apana pachamboungana tikawirirana, never forget it. Forget it. We have many examples where one person can save the whole village. Kana Bible zvirimo chaizvo. but tine shungu dzakanaka dzekuti tinobatana. Tichivararirwa mapepa achifamba zvinhu izvi, asi mapepa tichivararirwa nyika ichitetenwa. Talking about capture of ZANU-PF by a few individuals, now we have a challenge tese as a nation to undo that. That inini started with amendment number 9. Today we are on tab 3. Ndoko kwazvasvika, unfortunately. Now, it's not just that, but there were people who were very vocal, single-handed, which maybe makes my life very easy. Kwave nembinga, vana zvobo, vana tekere, vana maishinamano, ari one imomo pamamonya ipapo, which then calls, I think, for us to then get in, not muzana, kuzana kusina in the economy and fight for economic freedom. Ipapo ndo nyaya iri kunetsa. Nyamasvisva imimi namhofu panapa muzotiitira space. Ari kutaurwa maonyero akanyaya yekuti toita sei kutanga vanhu vada kupinda mushawa inotonhora kuti can we allow these people eat alone, or can we also grab opportunities and also fight? It is what it is right now, but tingoshaya kuti toita sei, but havasi kumira. It's a very dangerous situation yatakasangana nayo, yakatasangana nayo, because tiri kumhanya nedemocratic space nepolitical arena. Zvanzi namudhara mubveti, mufana mubveti, kati ukanzwa munhu achitaura zvepolitics kana kuti zvepolitical party kana kuti mavhoti, mugogodze musoro mbichana, not maningi, because akati according to him. But what he is saying is his political statement. There's no future for that, and it's not conspiracy. And these ones we have captured the few. Havana kana hierarchy inoenda kuri. Nezvino makaona maseneta aya. Koda kutsvaka kuti vakabva kumasere, hakuna kwavakabva kumasere kwavakabva. But tinoda kushinya kumeso, tovhara kumeso, because tine shungu dzakanaka dzekuti no zvinoita chete. But tichenjere kupera tese kuti try. I'm going to speak more about old Edison Zobo. I said there are people who were single-handed. I think yasvika nguva yekuti atanga topota nekoko iwo pota nekoko tosangana kumberi. He spoke vividly, and he said we cannot allow one man, right, to take over everything. Takatarisa tichiona. But I guess maybe it didn't make sense to his colleagues then. And Tekere argued the same against the idea of a single individual that would just embroid the whole nation, whip everyone into one line. Tekere was an opposition leader, by the way, from within ZANU-PF, right? He argued that we cannot replace a colonial rule with a new form of dictatorship. You can calculate and see how many years that is to date. Those zvikuitika izvozvi mumaspaces zviri kutaurika nevamwe vedu, asi hatisi kuvateerera, hatisi kuda kunzwa, takangoita chandagwinyira. It's very sad. It's a very sad situation. As I prepare to land more, those who are kana zvinhu zvakaoma, maybe it's an understatement. Our situation is very complicated. Very complicated. And well, by the way, what Ostalas said, I think I'll number up. You can't fight, this is me now, you cannot fight a system without a counterintelligence system. Awenze hali loko. Nada ndaramba mputukeza zviitike izvozvo. Under normal circumstances, you cannot fight a system without a counterintelligence. But what about this situation which is complicated, so deceiving? It's even worse. It's even worse. It's far from just institutions, because you don't need an institution. You just need that kangotsinzinazisa kuti panapa zviri kuitwa hazvisiri izvo. But it might sound a scare, but anything is possible. It's inevitable. Where is that statement coming from Ostalos? Musanditeme nematombo. I'm also confused, if you allow me to do that. Sometimes it can be admittance totozoona munhu aakuti inini ndava kuno handisisiri uku. We need to read the room temperature, what is happening. Vanhu vakunakurira nanyoka mhenyu. But havana basa vanhu vese ivava. Because we are all alone in this game. That's very important. That should keep us in this track yekuva hopeful. Because havana kana nebasa rese vanhu ava vakangofanana neni, because real leaders who liberate Zimbabwe will come from amongst us. Mukati medu nevamwe vachatevera. Kufa kwemusoja kamba itombovharwa kana one day, and I know I'm not apologetic on that. And I thank Komichi, though I don't follow individual, for saying none of us is a saint. But chakatibata musoro chatakagwinyira chacho ndo chichatikuvadzisa manje. I hate to think that we will have spaces and ask each other kuti pai taite papa taita sei. So tine macartels atiri kunyeperana, aripo macartels. Kana ndiri wrong munhu andibatsire kuti vanhu vakasadzwa tongotaura vane zuro chete vakabva nekumasero here. Are we too blind to see we have got the good two brothers? If you can tell me that it's a coincidence, fine, it's a better argument. Iteam rekwagutu ke asitova masenators, Tagwire ndiwo kwagutu, Chamisa ndiwo kwagutu, Charumbira ndiwo kwagutu. The list is long. Mangunja, vana George Magwa Matanga, igutu line yoga yega, boys they smoke. What is we are playing politics? It's just the nepotism yakataurwa iyo nemaforefathers edu vakatanga vanazvo. Yainetsa nyaya yetusungisa nepotism. But the politics of the land, the economy of the land, the state capture and economic state capture.
Right.
Institutions have been captured, whether we like it or not. But after admitting that this is where we are, I'm sure, I'll leave it to somebody else, but I'm sure we will be able to find ways how to pin the same capture, because a system, it is banks and corporates. Just like Zimbabwe was captured by, yes, Zimbabwe was captured by a company, and a company that we are talking of, it's banks and corporates. So we have that in Zimbabwe, that set up. The banking sector is captured. My resources are ikoko team. My institutions are captured. It's beyond people being captured. It's a system that I will land now, and I promise you, Mangwana, not Mangwana is tomorrow. Kukurume Baba Sean, President weZANU-PF, mutungamiri wenyika vanomuka vasipo nokutese tichafazve. I bet you reference 2017 yakazovata 2018 vaMugabe vakatofa todyiwa nemuchenje kana vatova mapfupa chete. We will agree that there is a system problem, and the problem is not necessarily ZANU-PF. Muka yakachinja kuti yava Zimbabwe Liberation Party. Are we going to subscribe to it? Inini kana sadza rikabikwa rikaiswa muchemba nyuwani yabva kumonaki, handidyiri mono kuti ichemba, hapana chachinja. So what changes is what should change effectively the system, not the riders. Yes, the riders are answerable, but the moment you deal with the system, that means the moment you deal with the hosts, the rider goes down. That being said, message of hope. It is a struggle for economic freedom. It's not a one-man band. Haisinyaya kusekana mahobi, but let's be determined and be focused. And one day we shall celebrate, whether from our grave, whether in our lifetime, and victory is certainly guaranteed. Many thanks.
All right. Thank you, Signoro. Can I promptly move on to Sabugu Dobbs?
Yeah, many thanks. Many thanks. Thank you, everybody.
Sabugu mumadare kwenyu kuri seiko nana Temba muliswa nevamwe maSabugu?
Kuri kufamba kumatare tongoona dzevhu ndo dziri kunetsa kuti ivhu riri kunyatso kutadza kupiwa vanhu varidzi vevhu.
Hamusi kutengwa here nehurumende iyi muchinzi itai zvido zvehurumende kwete zvevanhu?
Vari kutengwa ndevaya vakagadzwa nemari, takagadzwa nemhepo hautengwi. kana wakagadzwa nemhepo hautengi zvakaita ivo vana Temba ya vanogona kutengwa because vakagadzwa vakauya nebackdoor saka ndo vanotengeka. So tichienda kumberi nenyaya yamuri kutaura yakanaka Stereki, but muri kuataka chinhu chisipo. Personality yakagara iripo. Ukaenda kuhistory yenyika yedu, it was there, kwaingwani kune personality. Saka that issue of personality yamuri kutaura kuti pamwe ndo problem oro problem ndo yari kutotaurwa nana Sinyoro nana Story kuti muZimbabwe hamuna democracy. And musazvinetse kuti mungavake ma-democratic institutions when there's no democracy. What you can do then, you can fight institution to fight for democracy, not to build a democratic institution. No, you are making it wrong. Create those institutions to fight for democracy and start fighting for democracy. Rukona, even if you wanted to go to our constitution, devolution is there. I said it you. And it's part of our 2013 constitution. But this was just kwatoapoindwa mamwe ma-senators. On what grounds, I don't know. Because kana speed yacho, I don't know why it's trying to one speed. Because all along I was thinking those senators would be appointed after 20, when the president is appointed by the or voted by the parliament, that is when they can then appoint the next 10. Not knowing that is something which they were eager to do. So going on, apa hapana zvakatombowana zvokutaura. But kungotaura kuti moving on, all the institution hands on the deck, and let's fight for democracy, not to create democratic institutions. And let's make that democracy exist in our country. The idea of separation of powers, which is no longer there, when every institution is captured, whether it's Human Rights Commission, judiciary, police, army, I don't have to talk. Because even churches now are now captured. Nengangawo dzave captured. Nemamwe masvikiro atove captured. So we need to understand now kuti ndopatave, but how are we going to fight for that? And what is our exit strategy? The fight, we must keep on organizing fight. 31 July was one of those fights. But we still have problem now to say we don't have exit strategy to say, even if Mnangagwa said, no, I am going, we would find out tinongoita hedu yechizimba kuti each and everybody anoyane kuti this is the solution. But my solution acho anenge achingofavor ma-interests awo. That is why uchinzwa vamwe vezano vanenge vachiti tinoita transitional asi kutoda kutoba ipapo kutocapture ipapo kutoti transitional authority yacho vachada kuileader. What we need to do now, going on forward, once we have that chance yekuti we have fight ZANU-PF, kana muchiona vachiburitsa mapurisa zvavakaita musi wa31 July nekuburitsa everybody, every security sector, vane vachitoprepare kutiza. But the moment yavanotiza iyoyo yavanonzi vatiza, ndo pacho patino let's go regional, let's go international. Kuti kana takuita my-election, come and be our ref. And throw away the captured institutions like ZEC. We are refu. Where are we going to find our ref? Throw away those ones whom we know they are captured to say, no, we can't have them. We need somebody who is neutral. So the region, you will be the neutral. Then we can move on. Not what we are doing to say we come with different idea, criticism, and so forth. So ndikuzanikodzerepo panapa ndingoti ya kana tazongotiwo hatite chakati ngatisapotwe chiitwa ndozvoti zvacho zvichatoita kuti tibvise mutwa apa pane kukritisaiza kuti nzira yamuri kuchiita haisiriyo, kuti mabhuku here akakukanganisai kana kuti chii. Mabhuku asingazivi kuti kana newe unonyora rako tangotaure kuti zvazvo zvakanyorwa mubhuku randakaverenga zvakanzi zvinoitwa so maybe akanyora bhuku racho anga asiri kudhila nezano. Indodhila nezano ndenda toona kuti ukunde unenge watoita so saka iwewe prepare, so be my author uchizonyora kuti vanhu vakazokunda pazanu pf vaita so nokuti kutanga kungodiscourage vanhu kuti aiwa hazviiti iwe hauyi nechinoita but zvevamwe zvacho izvozvo unoti hazviiti. Saka hopefully going on forward we will support each other with all different institutions, whether are democratic, whether are personality, but what we need is our freedom and that democracy in our country. That is what we need to end up with. Thanks a lot. I receive now.
Thank you, Sabuk. Thank you for that. Kune mabhuku naye anonyorwa. No, no, I think for me, I always believe kuti ZANU-PF, have been in this game for a long time, and they keep getting stronger. They keep getting, they keep extending their tentacles. But the reality is, I think it's going to take different ways. It's not. There might be, there might be maybe one more effective way or something that can take a bigger percentage. But I think it's definitely going to take different people, attacking from different angles through different forms, different forms of protest, different forms of coming together, of organizing systems, structures, whatever you want to call it. But I just don't think there's one sure way of doing it. If there was, I think we would just all go for it. But I think we're going to need to do that separately, differently, and together. I think that's the way we need to do it together as a crew. But anyway,
Sakuri ndibvumirai kuseka mati pane mabhuku panorova Dobbs ndezvisipo.
no, but I'm not going to say my books. But anyway, I think Marcina Elvis, you are coming next. So, Mangesi, do you want to give the lady first or vice versa? Either way.
Whatever. If you drop down in maybe 5-10 minutes, I will come after you.
Okay. Yeah, Marcy, please come through.
Thanks. Dobbs throw a shade. And kana tikapindura we look like we are disrespectful children. And ipapo mongwarira Dobbs. Shade yakadaro has no place in today's world. And I'll tell you why. Because ZANU-PF is reading books. Dzakanyorwa kudzimwe nyika. And it's applying it in Zimbabwe. Rigging yakaitika ku Zimbabwe in 2023, you can read in the forensics of elections. Down to a T what they did. Through those books, we said what is going to happen. As we seem funny that we read these books, it's because we have adults who have been in this struggle who don't talk. We're not going to beg for information. We're going to talk to other adults from other worlds who wrote their experiences. Oppression, I see new one. ZANU-PF is not the first organization to oppress people in the world. Haina style that it created. It adopts styles that are there somewhere in the world. So shade iyoyo yekuda kuva anti-intellectualism. It's very bad. Ndiyo inokonzera culling of intellectuals in institutions that Mugabe was doing. Creating this suspicion over people who read that they are ineffective. Our education system is behind by 3 decades was written by academics who, at the point where they are supposed to transform it, were cult in preference for people who say, Ndiri Ani, I've been in the struggle. I know Zimbabwe. Vanhu vange vakazvidzidzira zvinhu izvi, researched and wrote documents about what must happen, ignore. So shade yoyo. I know kuti maybe kune vamwe that you be hitting with that, but bore. Because the Zimbabwean children want to talk to adults who have experience of what they did that they can change and what needs to be transformed. They don't find them. So we'll go and ask the Cubans. We'll go and